Okay, so here we go. We're on to another one of our workshops that we are doing, which we call Let's Do Well Financially for the North Cottage program. This one, we call this Know Your Benefits. And really, this isn't a deep dive into all of your benefits. It's sort of a general overview of them, things to be thinking about, things to be considering. Because what happens a lot for Craig and I is we sit down and do planning with individuals all the time. And one of the things that happens in those conversations is we ask about what their employer benefit or what they're getting from their employer. And half the time, Craig, the answer is usually, I don't know,
Yeah,
right? Something along those lines.
exactly. Yep. Nobody takes the time to read the manual. Right.
Yeah, so we just think it's a good idea when we do these for organizations, just to sort of refresh everybody, give them an idea of what's available, what may or they should be thinking about if they haven't done it. And I know your open enrollment period is coming up, so it's a good way to sort of tie that in with, hey, open enrollment's coming up. Maybe I should, review, revamp, revise what I've got or what I'm doing. All right, real quick. So the agenda with that is we're just going to go through again, quick introduction to us, and then we'll go through the different options, the different coverages that are available, how they work, what they do, and whether or not it might be something that's worth considering for you. Real quick on us, my name is Tom Alessi. I am the president of the Aries Foundation for Financial Education. Those letters after my name just mean I am a certified fiduciary. I've been doing this for 25 years. And that just means that anytime I'm sitting down or giving any guidance or advice to anyone, I always have to be acting in their best interest. I want to bring my co-presenter, Craig, if you can introduce yourself.
Sure. So I'm Craig Richardson. I am the vice president of the Aries Foundation. I've been doing this a little over 20 years now, and I specialize in helping individuals and families define their financial goals and have a better relationship with their money.
And Craig will be chiming along as we go through this. I will say that for anybody out there, if you have any questions, please use the chat box. That's why Craig is here. See, he'll answer the questions. If you think it's worthwhile for it to be, thrown out so that everybody can hear it, he'll do that as well. But if you have certain questions, he can answer them directly using the chat box. All of Let's Do Well is brought to you by the Aries Foundation for Financial Education. We're a nonprofit. We're located in Newton. You can check us out on the web. It's ariesfoundation.org. Our mission is trying to help everyone have a better relationship with their money. Because whether you realize it or not, you are in a relationship with money. And just like every other personal relationship that you have in your life, there are behaviors, there are triggers, there are things that cause us to act. Craig and I like to joke a little irrationally sometimes when it comes to our spending, our habits, our money, all of that. For myself, Craig, the rest of the Aries team, that's all we try to do. We try to help everybody take a step back, take a deep breath, take a little bit of that emotion out of dealing with their money.
Yep.
All right, let's get right into this. We're going to start. You're getting medical coverage. And again, for anybody who is joining us or just joining us, just to know, what we're doing is we're doing a high overview of all of the benefits that are being provided to you by the North Cottage program. We're not going to go into a deep dive with you like, hey, this Blue Cross versus that one is better for you or whatever. That's something that you'll do. All of the ins and outs of this is something that the provider, HR, can help you out with. But just know, you get medical coverage. It is available to you. You do have to sign up for it. I will say, the benefits available 30 days after your hire. And I know, I don't know when open enrollment is, but I believe coverage, Alyssa, you're on the call. It starts September 1st. Is that correct, if I remember?
That is correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I just want to make sure I had that right. So for Craig and I, the biggest part of this, and really the thing that we find that is hugely beneficial, that gets overlooked a lot by employees, is this piece right here. This health savings account, or what is known in the acronym as an HSA. This is a huge benefit that goes along with your plans. And if you're really not taking advantage of this, it's something to be looking at. So the way a health savings account works, these funds that go in, they go in pre-tax. They grow tax deferred. And when taken out for medical purposes, Craig, they are
Tax-free.
tax-free. Thank you very much.
You are
So this is a triple tax savings. This, a health savings account, unlike any other plan out there, no other plan does this. Your 403B, the retirement plans, IRA, that money goes in pre-tax, it grows tax deferred, but when you take it out, it's taxable. A Roth that goes in after tax, grows tax deferred, it's out tax-free, but you pay taxes in the beginning. The health savings account is the only way you can put money in. It's pre-tax, have it grow, not get taxed on it, and take it out, and it's tax-free. And there's a couple of parts to this. Unlike you may have used in the past a flex savings account or an FSA, that's a use it or lose it. Yes, you can roll over a certain portion, but in the case of a health savings account, Greg, they don't have to use it in this calendar year.
No, you can let it accumulate over time. Yeah, so use it when you need it.
Use it when you need it. And it's a funny conversation because this is a conversation I have with my wife probably now at least once a year. Well, she'll say, hey, I want to use the health savings account to pay for a deductible or this copay or whatever. And I'm like, no, this money grows. It could be invested. And it's going to be there when we retire, when we get old. Because when we're old, we know we're going to need prescription meds and Medicare premiums and all this other stuff. We're creating a tax-free income to pay for medical expenses by having this health savings account. So if you're right now, if you're single, 2024, you can contribute $4,150 into an HSA. However, because the North Cottage program is making a contribution of $2,500 on your behalf, that means you can contribute an additional $1,650. If you haven't set that up, Craig and I, we recommend that you schedule that or do it. But here's the thing, you have all the way up until your tax filing time, Craig, which means in 2025, I can make a contribution in February or March for the 2024 tax year.
So have all the way up to mid-April is what you're saying.
Well, until I file my taxes, depending on how long we wait, yes. For a family, that number, it's 8,300 this year. So you take the 2,500 off of that, it becomes 5,800 that you could put in. And so we'll get into it when we talk about the retirement account, but this is one of those conversations that's like, well, wait, where am I putting my money and how am I putting my money away? And is this maybe a better place in some cases than other places that you might be putting your money? Because like I said, this is a win-win-win. You don't get this type of tax treatment in any other vehicle. So if you're not taking advantage of it, it's something to absolutely be looking at and using as you go forward. All right, so there is dental. Craig, I'm going to let you run, because you and I go back and forth on dental all the time, whether or not dental is a worthwhile benefit, something you should have. I guess if you have kids, right, it makes sense because we know that they're going to have all sorts of problems with their teeth.
Well, yeah, yes and no. I think you got to look at what the cost is going to be based on what you're spending. Now, if you are just having an annual cleaning and that's all you ever do, well, then, maybe you're better off to pay out of pocket, a few $100 for whatever that is. Might be cheaper than the premium. But if you do have any dental work, I mean, it doesn't pay for itself. The only issue with dental I find is that, a lot of times the cap rates are pretty low. So if you have to have like anything major, like a filling or a crown or a tooth replaced, you're still paying a lot out of pocket anyway. So it's really a matter of, each individual deciding, do you use or go to, your dental insurance every year? Do you have cavities, things that keep getting fixed or not? And if you do,
Right.
then, it's definitely, it's cheap enough. And if you're good, like I said, this will maybe at least make you go get your cleanings at least because they're going to pay for those.
Yeah, I take that. I agree with that. And I think that's one of the things that where it does come in is that it's sort of this mindset, I have this, I should use it. So I should schedule this, and keep that because the dentist is going to schedule every 6 months. So I might as well just keep on that track if nothing else.
Well, anything preventative medical wise is always going to save you money in the long run. Right, because you're better off to fill a cavity now than have to do a root canal 2 years from now because you didn't. So
Yes, yeah, or have a tooth pulled or something crazy like that.
exactly.
And sort of right in line with that, sort of same idea as vision. Like again, this becomes one of those, if you need it, you need it. You know, like Craig said, sort of the same idea. If I want to have this looked at, it's an idea to do it, but just know the vision is available. You know, again, one of those things that whether you need it or not in terms of going through it.
You made that small and blurry on purpose, right? So everybody knows.
Yes, that was the idea, so that everybody would think that they need it.
You test your eyes, right?
All right, so now life insurance. So there is life insurance, those acronym afterwards, that AD&D, that is accidental death and dismemberment, right? And the actual definition of dismemberment is really it's more than one body part. Usually, I don't know this particular policy, but a lot of times, most AD&D, you have to lose a combination, like a foot and a hand, or an eye and an ear, that type of thing, for it to qualify for it.
All good things come in pairs, right?
I guess, you know, in terms of going through that. The accidental death part, which is fine, you know, add on in terms of the policy, but just understand most claims, Craig, for life policies are not accidental deaths.
They are not. No, they're either sickness is usually the biggest one that causes
Right.
life claims, or sudden accident. But usually it's not, you know, AD&D doesn't apply. So I kind of look at that as like a supplemental. You know, so I just don't.
Well, in this case, the coverage here, it is paid for by the North Cottage program. It's one-time salary to a maximum of 50,000. And the reason we have the picture on there is this is one of those, there are many, that you are naming beneficiaries to or for. So one of the things with beneficiaries, and Craig and I harp on this all the time with everybody, if you have a policy, you should be reviewing who your beneficiary is. You should really be thinking, especially as we start to get older, like maybe it was, hey, at the time we had just gotten married, I named my spouse, but now I'm married with kids, that naming the contingent beneficiaries, the secondary people that in case one or the other predeceases, that there's a backup beneficiary there. Because it's not something we think about that often. We do this when we get it, we signed up, okay, I've got it, and now it's 15 years later and I never thought about it again.
Yeah, and one quick touchback on the AD&D. The reason I don't count it is because a lot of people say, well, I have life insurance to work. Maybe say I have 100, they say I have 200,000. Like, oh, really? So they tell me the base policy life insurance 100,000, the AD&D is another 100. So if they're counting on the family getting 200,000, they may be, you know, severely short in life insurance, depending on, you know, now it's about how the way you pass away. So that's why I tend not to count AD&D as part of that overall coverage, and just want to make sure people feel, you know, that's how people look at that.
Right, right. And I know there's something, we'll get to that in a little bit with some of the supplemental stuff, but just understand the real reason for going through this, because there's no cost to you, you're getting it from your employer, is just to make sure that you've updated and looked at it. And we say to everybody, go back and review your beneficiaries at least every couple of years, just to make sure. We had this just happen to us literally like a week and a half ago. Like, it's a nice old lady, but we did one of these presentations. She came up and said, you know what, I have all of these people named as beneficiaries. I don't like them anymore. What do I do? And I'm like, well, okay, you know, I don't know how to help you with that, but we can help you change the beneficiaries. But she's like, yeah, I named all these people. I don't like them now. What do I do?
Find her new friends. Right?
Yes, find her new friends. That's, you know, sort of got to think about that. But that's what happens sometimes. Life changes, we change, but we don't go back in and look at the stuff. So just know that, nothing else, take away that anything that's got a beneficiary on it, you should be going back, reviewing it, updating it, changing it as needed. Okay, so there is two different retirement plans here. One of them is the employer-sponsored plan. One of them is yours. We're going to start with the employer-sponsored plan. This is a profit-sharing plan. Profit-sharing plan just means that the employer is making the contributions on your behalf. It is discretionary at their ability to contribute. They will add funds to you. You are eligible to participate if you are over the age of 21, you've completed 1 year of service, That's 1,000 hours, just so we're clear. And then Alyssa, just so I'm clear on this, they are then enrolled on the 6 months, 7/1 or January 1.
So it would be 7/1, but they would have to have been here for a year already. So unfortunately, if you get hired later on in the year, you don't roll into the plan until the following year.
Until January 1st.
Well, no, July. I'm sorry. Yeah, July 1st.
So if, all right, just so, because I want to make sure I'm clear with this, just because I was going through the doc and just wanting to make sure, and just so I follow it along, and not to have this with you in the middle of this, but it does say 1,000 hours. So if I did 1,000 hours, if I was hired in March and I completed 1,000 hours by August, I would not enroll in January. I wouldn't enroll until oh, so it's a 1 year, even though it's a year. Okay, it's a time thing instead of, even though it's considered 1,000 hours. I get it. Okay. But anyway, that's what's in there. It's just you having access to this. So this is controlled by the employer. It's a benefit for you. This is great because a lot of times, especially when we start out, we're not sure, Craig. We run into this all the time. We did this with, saving versus spending and everything else, that we can contribute to what would be bucket number 3. In this case, the North Cottage program is filling that, or at least adding to that bucket on their behalf.
Yeah, which is a great benefit because, like you said, a lot of times people, don't think about going back and looking at their benefits, which means they don't think about, oh, I'm eligible to start putting into the retirement plan now, until they get some kind of a prompt. And like I said, sometimes it's just a matter of affordability. Can I afford to do it? So this is a fantastic benefit that not everybody offers. And it's fantastic that the cottage, that they do this for them.
Right. But just know it's there. So sometimes, again, that's one of those things like, okay, I was aware of it. I get in. Now it's, 2 years later and I haven't thought about it. But at least it's there.
Mm-hmm.
The other that is available, and you have to forgive us here with the images, but that first one is the savings train pulling into the station. And there is a 403B arrangement. This is handled by Vanguard. It's the Newport group that is available to you. This would be your own salary deferral contributions. North Cottage is contributing to the profit share. You have the ability to sign up and contribute on your own behalf over and above that profit sharing contribution through the 403B through Vanguard. Now, the whole image there with the savings train is because what happens for Craig and I is we sit down with people all the time. We do a lot of plans. Like I said, I'm a certified plan fiduciary. That what happens is participants will tell us in their 20s, Craig, I've got student loan debt. As soon as I get that done, then I'll start participating. Then I'm getting married. Once that happens, then I'll participate. Then it's a baby, then buying a house. And next thing you know, you're in your late 40s, early 50s, and you haven't really started yet.
Yeah, the issue is the way you deal with money is just like anything else. You form habits. And if you form a habit of not saving, then that's going to be a hard habit to break later. So even if you're putting just a few dollars in, at least you're forming that habit of on putting things away on a regular basis. So like Tom said, pushing this off because it's always going to be something. There's
always going to be, yeah.
So form those good habits as early as you can.
And then the second one there, the mind the gap. Again, we're trying to keep the train theme going. If you've ever ridden the tube in England, every time you come into a station, they blare out, mind the gap between the train and the platform. But for us, the mind the gap is Social Security is only going to contribute X amount, right? For most of us, that's barely basic living expenses. What we need to live on or have in retirement is a much higher figure. That gap is you needing to fill that amount. And that's really what having the retirement plan is about. Now, like we said, North Cottage is already contributing some of that for you, but the other portion, that's got to come from you. And again, we understand in your 20s or 30s, that becomes like, whoa, that's, another lifetime away, but it comes quickly, it comes fast. And you don't want to find yourself, because Craig, we run into this conversation a lot with people who are in their late 50s or early 60s and being like, I can never retire because I didn't save enough.
Well, I mean, that's like you said, you hit 50 years old and the government allows you to do what's called a catch-up contribution. And that's because people are trying to catch up because they didn't put anything away for the last 30 years. for retirement. And now they're like, oh, now it's staring me in the face 10, 15 years from now. So the problem with that is you never get the benefit of compounding interest, right? Your money growing
Right.
as much as you would if you'd done it earlier. So once again, if you haven't done it, there's no time to start but now. You can't go back and redo it. But if you're, younger and thinking, should I be doing it? Yeah, absolutely. Take advantage of time.
Right. And even if it's just 1 or 2%, just something to get yourself started, at least you're making that contribution. Again, you've got to be filling, like we've talked about in the past with some of the other workshops that we've done, fill in the other buckets, the emergency reserve, that's important. Your midterm savings, that's important.
Mhm.
But, the long-term portion here and tying into this, like there's no real other way to truly build wealth than having a systematic point of contribution that's happening regardless of the outcomes of the market.
Right.
Because you're buying as you go along, buying as it goes up, you're buying as it goes down. This is truly beneficial for everybody. All right, voluntary benefits. So there's a whole menu here of voluntary benefits that are available to you, which is great that they're supplemental. These are all on you in terms of whether or not you should have them. One of them I will tell you here, there's a supplemental disability policy. The reality, Craig, is that more people are apt to get disabled than they are to die, right, at some point.
Well, no, that's not true. Everybody's going to die at some point. But between
yes,
now and
thank
age
you
60,
for correcting that. Yes, that is true.
between now and age 65, yes, there's more likelihood that you've been disabled than you would die by age 65. So
Yes.
problem with, when you're dead, you don't cost any money. When you have a disability, you still have expenses. And so, if you can't work, where do you get that income from? So
Right. And
that's
so,
very important.
there's probably, and again, we don't have the full details on this, and that's something you can go through with Colonial Life here or whoever's the provider to that. There's usually disability breaks down into 2 categories. You have short-term disability and long-term disability. Short-term disability, honestly, that's covering you usually for up to like 90 days. Long-term disability will cover you out into the future, depending on the ability of the policy, anywhere from 2 years to age 67 in the case of some policies, Greg, past age 65, since that's now the full retirement age for Social Security. And so the conversation becomes, for most of us, the idea is I could probably cover a short term, and with the medical leave that's available, I can probably deal with that. It's long-term that really should be addressed or looked at, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people go, geez, am I going to go insurance poor? I'm going to buy every type of insurance that's out there for every type of contingency. What I say is not really. What you want to do is cover the things that you can't afford to cover out of pocket. You can't replace all your income out of pocket right now. If you can, fantastic. But if you can't, then it's important to have those things in place. So the bigger things, your home, your income, those types of things, your health, that are going to devastate you financially if you don't have that in place.
Right. And then it's of the others, again, like Craig said, those are certain things to be thinking about and doing. If you're going through this and you want to have, we'll talk about at the end, ways to take advantage of us and just sort of go through that, whether or not it makes sense for you or might be other options available in terms of dealing with it. I will tell you, with disability, one of the benefits of you paying for a disability coverage like this is that if your employer was picking it up, the benefits that get paid out are taxable to you. If you pay for the disability, not that anybody wants to get disabled, but if you pay for the disability coverage, you get disabled, those benefits get paid tax-free because you paid for it versus your employer. And the difference there is usually, Craig, somewhere around 20-25% of the income, usually.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
The last one here is just because it's available, and this is, again, another of those very, very helpful, needful, beneficial. It's the Employee Assistance Program, the EAP. So you can see on the screen, those are all the different ways that you can access the EAP, and for whatever cause or need that you might have for this. We don't see this very often, Craig. There's not too many organizations the size, the scope of North Cottage that are offering an employee assistance program. So again, this was something that definitely highly beneficial and not too often seen as far as that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they're going out of their way to make sure that, their employees really have these benefits. And it's fantastic because, like I said, not every organization does that. And it's just, kudos to them for doing that. We work with a lot of nonprofits and they don't all put these things in place.
All right, so if you have any questions, specifically if you're looking at or trying to think of, gee, I've got some of this stuff, I don't have some of this other stuff, what's good for me, what's not good for me, what should I do? Take advantage of us. That's why we're here. We're here to have a conversation. We're here to say, hey, you might think about that, or what about this, or if there's, another strategy or option available to you that you can take a look at. If you just hit the QR code, take out your phone, hit the QR code, that'll open up our calendar. You can book a time. Craig, I don't know if you have the link for that.
I can put it
Or
in.
Melanie, if you're somewhere lurking in the background, if one of you can drop that into the chat. So anyway, they'll drop the chat link in there as well, but it's the same that's on the screen there. If you can copy and paste, but if you just take out your phone, it'll open up the calendar. You can schedule the time. We're happy to try to answer any of those questions, any of those concerns, or if you're just like, I'm not sure any of this stuff means anything to me. Should I just ignore it all, or should I take advantage of some of it? Take advantage of us. That's why we're here. That's what we're trying to do. All right, I got another one for you. Hopefully you've got this one.
I'm sure I have that one. 1 second. I'll put that in the chat box too.
So one of the things you can do for us, we always ask, is if you can fill out the evaluation form. Craig will drop the link into the screen, into the chat box. Just copy and paste it. It takes 2 minutes to open it up. We will tell you there is a yes or no on there, whether or not you'd like us to set up a time with you. Just so you know, if you say no, we are never going to reach out to you. Because we've been doing them now for most of this year with North Cottage, and it's pretty much the same thing. Anybody who says no, they never hear from us. We only want to talk to you when you're ready. We understand that a lot of times there's a lot going on. It's the cycle of life. We get on the merry-go-round and we got all sorts of things else we're doing. This stuff may not be the most important today, but at some point it might come up. And you might be thinking, like, now's the time I want to address it. That's when to reach out to us. But if you fill out the form for us, we're happy to either reach out to you if you say yes. And like I said, we value the feedback for every time we do these. So just take a minute and it would be much appreciated.
And the links are in the box, chat box. So
links are in the box. Thank you, Craig.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so save the dates. Here's what we've got coming up. In July, we've got 6 blunders of a 403B. This is not relevant to the profit sharing plan because you're not controlling it. It's only controlling the accounts that you have. If you're thinking about signing up, this is a good one to get involved with, because it'll give you some of the things to be thinking about as you're building out your plan, your portfolio, and how you're dealing with that. In August, we are going to do negotiating your worth. Look, we all want to, get ahead, get to places, some tips, ideas, tricks to use if you're sitting down and trying to negotiate anything, whether we're talking personal, professional, or whatever it might be. And then in September, this is a change of a date. We are going to do it now on the 27th, and that's non-taxable retirement income. So these are different strategies that you can employ, that you can put together so that we're not getting taxed, because that's one of the biggest drawbacks that hits retirees, is they don't realize just how much taxes are going to take a bite out of all of their income. Correct.
So like my under the table painting service, that's okay?
Yeah. I would never get paid for sitting the dog, but yes, that idea. All right, so if you ever have any questions, please check us out on the web. It's ariesfoundation.org. There's a contact us page. You can just fill that out. One of us will reach out to you. You can send us an email if you got individual questions that you'd rather have answered that way. info@ariesfoundation.org. Again, take your phone out, shoot the QR code. That's going to open up the calendar. We're happy to have a conversation, regardless of what it's about. If it's any of this information or any stuff where you're just being like, hey, open enrollment's coming up and I really haven't ever looked at it, what should I do? We're happy to try to go through that.
Or just have some good recipes you want to share, or, Want to talk about your vacation plans? Whatever, we're here.
Yeah, or we're always looking for a good brewery to visit, so you can always drop us that as well. Okay, that's pretty much everything that we had. Any questions for us?
Tom, I did just want to mention, just for everybody to understand, like if they do reach out to you and they decide after the first time, hey, this may be not for me, um, just let them know that they're not on the hook for anything. Like this is not something.
Oh yeah, sorry. Thank you, Willis. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, there's no obligation. There's no, this is all complimentary. Sorry, I thought I had mentioned that. I appreciate you mentioning that and going through it. These are complimentary conversations. If we just speak and then you're like, okay, I got my information and I'm gone, there's no obligation. There's nothing to that. We're just here to answer questions and go through it. At some point, there might be more involved and you might have other things and other details and other stuff that you need to do. Then we're gonna happy to follow up on that conversation. But no, if it's just, look, can you help me sort of define through this? Yeah, there's no obligation. This is all complimentary.
Yeah, we're not fee-based planners, so any work we do, you're never going to get a bill from us. That's one of the things that we've arranged with North Cottage. So anybody who needs financial planning advice, wants to go through their budget, wants, anything, debt management, they want to have a conversation about, this is all a complimentary service that we're offering to enhance your experience here at North Cottage. So like Tom said, take advantage of that because that doesn't happen often either.
Wonderful, guys. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Alyssa. I am going to stop my share.